Welcome to today's Flexi webinar. Today our presenter will once again be Aron Clapp, the Director of Training here at SAi. And Aron knows everything there's to know about Flexi. So he'll be talking today about how to use the Find My Font tool to be able to match the fonts that you're looking for your designs and use those in Flexi. And that'll go for about 20 minutes. And then we'll open it up for questions. So if you do have any during the presentation about Find My Font, go ahead and type those into the chat window, and we'll answer as many of those as we can. Or if you have any other questions, like I said, Aron knows there's everything there's to know about Flexi, so you can ask him if you have anything you've been wondering about. And we will be recording today's webinar as usual, so we will post it to our YouTube channel when we're done. And we'll send everyone who registered a link so you can review it at any time or share it with anyone else who may be wanting to learn more about Flexi and Find My Font. And we'll send that email to you shortly after the webinar. And I think that's everything, so we can go ahead and get started. Aron, take it away.
All right, so this is what Find My Font is. So we've got Find My Font on screen here, and this is the program that comes with any subscription version of the software. So if you have a subscription and you want to get a free license of the software, then you can do that. So this is a third-party application that we've partied with and are partnered with, and when you have a subscription, you get a free license to it. So it's a free license for every cloud account. So the way that we get this, or the way that you can install it, is if you've ever been in Flexi, then we'll pull that up real quick. You'll see in the cloud window this button right here. Unfortunately, this doesn't launch the program, but it does give you the download. So when you hit download Find My Font, it'll actually download the installer. You'll install the program, and then you'll see down here, once you've installed it, I went ahead and put a little icon on my taskbar. This will help, so just so I can quickly grab it. You'll also get an icon on your desktop when you install the software and things like that. The way that this software is licensed is that they use the cloud license. So what you'll do is when you install the software, you'll log in with your cloud account, and that cloud account is what we use for the licensing. And so real easy, same licensing system that you use for your Flexi software and things like that. So really easy to get to. Once it's installed and you open it up, this is what you're going to see. There is a few things like this getting started. This kind of has some quick reminder tips on what to do and kind of some steps on how to take this. There are some more resources here, videos, tutorials, things like that. This actually has quite a bit of resources in and of itself. Plus, you'll have this webinar to refer back to if you ever want any help on how to use this software. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and close that, and we'll kind of get into the meat of the program. So the goal for Find My Font is to be able to identify any font in any image, irregardless of what it is. And if you've ever scanned in a business card, or you've taken a picture of a sign on the side of the road, or taken a picture of a customer's sign and need to reproduce that, sometimes these customers may or may not have the original artwork, and it can be very difficult to try and reproduce or find the fonts that were used in the original graphic. So let's go ahead and open up a file here, and let's actually open up a test image. So here we have a pretty average image. If we zoom in here a little bit, you'll see that it's not the greatest quality, just taken probably with a lower-end digital camera or a cell phone or something like that. So we don't have crystal clear image quality, but you know what? We can still figure out what this is. So I have no idea what this font is, and I'm not that great at figuring it out. Now, I know there's folks out there that have a lot of this stuff memorized, and they're much better at this. And you could probably find out what font it was just by determining the serifs and different parts of it. For me, though, I have no idea what I'm doing in that regard. So this is a really helpful tool for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify some letters and then go through some of the different parts of it. So first of all, we imported the image, and we can do a few things like rotate if we need to and things like that. That's fairly easy. If we want to identify a letter, we're going to use this letter selection tool right here. So we click on that, and what we're going to do is click in the black area of the letter. So for example, I'm going to hit the C and the R, and maybe I'll hit the T. Now, something interesting happened here is when I clicked on this one, it pulled in the F, the T, and the S. What we need to be able to do is we actually need to be able to identify an individual letter as single at a time. So this group is not going to work. So I'm going to hit the red X, and I'm going to use a different letter. So maybe I'll go with the A instead. And if I maybe go with the S. Now, if I really need to use the F as part of my search, then there's ways of handling that. But honestly, this right here will get me the results that I want. This is actually going to get me well into what I need. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say capital C, and I'm going to type out my letters right here in the section number 2 where it says text to match. Capital C, R, A, capital S. And then I'm over here in step 3, I'm going to say match fonts. And now what this is going to do is going to do a local search on my PC, and then it's going to do an online search as well. It's going to find all the fonts in pink are the ones that are online, and the ones in green are going to be the ones that I already have on my local system. So I already have a Monotiva Cursiva font that might match. Now, the only difference between this and this one, I would think, is probably the bold. And that's where it's put the matching font percentage up here. So this one matches up here, 93.4%. And if I click on that, you can kind of see that it does match a little bit closer. The lines are a little bit thicker, so the bold is probably the one I want. So if I like this font and it's pink, then that means I don't have it. But that's not a problem because I can double click on this font. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull up a web page with the name of the font, where I can purchase the font from. And then if I want to go ahead and test it, I can test it out on some test text. I can demo my font. I can put some text in there. I can do some things to it to kind of just adjust the text and see if I really like this font or if this is the one that I really need. And if it makes sense, then I can either go and purchase it or download it from one of these places. So it gives you a nice place where you can actually access these fonts from if you want to purchase them. So let's go back here just for a second where we match these up. So let's hit X here, and let's go back. And what if you're in a circumstance where you have to use some of these letters? So I'm going to say the C, the A, and then the F, T, and S. I'm going to use those 3 letters. Well, what I need to do is I need to actually make a splitting point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my scroll wheel on my mouse and just zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to go over here to the scissors tool. It's called the letter splitter tool, I guess. And I'm just going to draw a line in between here to split these letters. So I'm just left clicking and holding and dragging, and then I let go of the mouse, and it's creating a divider right there. So now when I zoom back out, I click on my letter tool selection tool again. This time when I click the F, now it's a separate piece. Same for the T and the S. And so that's how you're going to separate letters and things like that. You'll find that this is probably going to be very helpful for you when you're trying to identify fonts that are very cursive in nature and a lot of the letters jumbled together. this is going to be a really good way for you to split up each letter so that you can get the individual letters by themselves. So that's one tool here. So again, you can see that this can work with just about any font. Even up here, we can select this one, and again, it's going to do this whole thing. So we would need to start cutting these apart in order to make that separation. Let's take another example here, because this is going to be another really helpful example because we want to get through several different things here. So let's go ahead and open up another file here. This one here. So this obviously was taken at a perspective, and in some regards, you probably could have stepped in front of the sign and taken this picture straight on. It would have been better, but there's nothing that you could really do about the fact that this sign is higher than the actual person, because I mean, you get a ladder, I suppose, but it's too high. But since we've got a perspective problem, when I hit these letters individually, you can see now that we actually have a skewing of the letter. And so this is really actually not going to help us get the right font. So we don't want to do that. We need to fix the skewing problem first and then do it. So that is what we're going to do here with our image correction and deformation tool. I'm going to click on this, and it's going to bring up this little grid. And I'm going to kind of get this close as to where we want it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Control key to move individual boxes without moving the other ones necessarily. Because if I do this, then it kind of adjusts everything. So if I hold down Control, I can start to kind of adjust these a little bit. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but I'm going to try and do my best to make sense of what we got here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit with my mouse and just kind of, correct some of these like this. I'll come down here, make an adjustment there, and come up here maybe and grab this guy and pull him just a little bit farther to the edge. We want to get as close as possible, but we don't have to be super OCD about it. There. Okay, so we've got it kind of outlined. That is actually determining our perspective here. And then up here at the top, you'll notice that we have a few options. So we've got an option to show the grid. So you can have it show the grid if you want. We'll have it fix the perspective for us. So right up here, you'll get a little preview of the perspective. And then you can also have it enlarge if you want to, or you can adjust the contrast. So if the image is very low contrast, like maybe the letters are light, different shades of gray, you may need to increase the contrast, because the way that this software works is it uses the contrast between the letters, the color of the letter, and whatever background it's on to determine where the lines stop. And so that's how it draws. So if you have very light colors that are having a hard time reading and it's not picking them up correctly, you may want to just bump that contrast up a little bit to kind of make a differentiation between the letters and whatever background it's on. So that can be something you can do as well. We'll leave that there for now because red and yellow seem to work. They're pretty good there. And I'm just going to hit apply. I'm going to hit the green check mark. I'm going to apply that, and it's going to create a deskew for me. So it's flattened and unskewed the image for me enough to where, yes, I'm a little blurry on this end, but on this side, I've gotten exactly what I want. So what I'm going to do is, again, I don't have to use a ton of letters. I don't have to set out the entire set. I can usually just pick several different letters and get the results I need. So I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to select the N on this side because it's the clearest. I'm going to go ahead and grab the I, the T. This R is a fairly unique letter. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and then maybe the S. And that's honestly probably more than I need. I could probably get away with just the N, the T, the R, and I would probably get it. But I'm going to add a couple letters in there. It doesn't hurt. So I'm going to go capital N-I-T-R-S. Match fonts. and it's going to find the best results that it can. All right, we can see that if I scroll down here, the closest one I have in my system is going to be this SAi or Arial Black. Obviously, that's not really that close. It's definitely not the right font. But if I go up here, it's found that these 4 fonts up here are going to be the most accurate. So you can see that here we've got slightly varying versions of each one. Again, I can double click on this, and then it would take me to a place where I could purchase it and things like that. So de-skewing the image, this is going to make a huge difference in what you do. And so not only did it change the perspective from left to right, it also put us in a field where we're looking straight at the image. And then we can do that from, we could start using our selection tool for the rest of this as well. So the last thing we want to kind of take a look at is going to be, well, what about images, or what about fonts on a curve? So if we go in here and let's open up another test image, and this is a perfect example right here. Obviously, we know this is impact, is what this is, this font. But what we're going to do is, if we click on our selection tool, again, we notice that the letters come in sideways. So that's obviously not going to work for us. So we're going to need to go ahead and change the skewing of the letters so that they're straight. We need them to be straight up and down in order for us to register them correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool right here, the baseline rotation tool. When I click on that, I can drag and create a little chart here, a little graph, and it's really hard to see. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Here we go. Let's zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So what I'm going to look for is, let's go over to the M here. So what I want to do is I want to straighten out this M. So I'm going to left click and drag, and it's going to give me these little lines to kind of help me guide the straightness of the letter here. And then I'm just going to let go whenever I feel like it's ready, and it's going to rotate the image for me based on what I've done here. So this looks about right. Again, we're not looking for being absolutely perfect. That's kind of important here. We don't have to be perfect. It's just we need to get it really as close as we can. So I let go. That looks fairly straight to me. Now I can go to my letter selection tool. In fact, it goes to that by default. Now I can click the M, and I can zoom out. I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to grab this A. So we'll rotate this again. I'm going to start over here and go this way. That looks fairly straight to me. Maybe a little bit farther down like that. There we go. Again, that's not completely perfect. It's probably a little bit skewed just a little bit, but I think we'll be fine. So we'll hit the A. That C actually looks like it's pretty straight as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab that C while we're at it. And then let's grab this A. So let's do it on the A over here. Again, our rotation tool. Grab this. Kind of get it straight as we can. Zoom out. That looks pretty straight. And then we're just going to type M-A-C and then capital A. It is important to put the capitals in there, as you've probably seen. That does make a difference in terms of when it searches through the algorithm. It searches capital or uppercase versus lowercase. So obviously, it pulled up Impact Regular. That's the font this is. That's pretty obvious. But the idea here is that now you can rotate. So if we actually go back and look at this sign right here, if we wanted to grab the font from this arc, we would need to do the same process here. So we would take this tool, line everything up, and now that it's straight, I would create a cut line right here, and then I could go back to my selection tool, and now I've got my M. And I would do that with the A, the R, the I, the E, and things like that. So this is a pretty powerful tool that you can use to create different things. One other thing that you can do is what I've done just here is you can add, with your Shift key, you can add different things. So for example, let's actually open another file again. Let's go here. So if I need to add the little dot above the I, all I have to do is go to my selection tool, left click once, and then if I hit Shift and left click again, that will add it to the previous selection. So in this case, it added it to the last thing that I had selected. Now if I go up here, left click again, I hold down Shift, and now I can add that to it. So that adds it to the selection so that if you're doing letters that have like exclamation points, question marks, lowercase letters like I's, things like that that require the extra dot, then you can go ahead and hit Shift and then add that in just like that. So pretty easy and powerful tool. This gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of anything that you're doing. Like I said, I've used it since it's come out. I have used it in customers' designs plenty of times where I have not known, you're helping people out in tech support, get their fonts and things like that. It's a really good way to determine which font that is that they're using just in a quick second. And you can do this so once you get the hang of it and get used to it, it's so easy and so fast. You'll wonder why you never had this tool before. It's that good. So again, really easy to use. I recommend if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, play with some of the test files, and if you want, go on Google and just Google assign and see what you can do with it. You'd be amazed how well this works. It can save you a ton of time, a ton of money, and just overall headache of just trying to figure out fonts from a design that you don't know what it is. I know that you can vectorize a lot of fonts and things like that, but wouldn't it be better if instead of vectorizing that font, you could just find it real quick and type it out? Then you don't lose any quality. You don't have to do any editing later, things like that. So it works with crisp images and blurry ones. I would just recommend that if you can get, best case scenario is that you get an image that's not as blurry, but you can see that the images that we're dealing with here are not that great. They're low quality, low res for a reason, and that's to demonstrate the power that the software has. So even though they are low res, you should still be able to do what you have. So having said all that, any questions on this or about anything in Flexi in general?
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat window. We'll answer as many of those as we can. So Sheila said, can you please repeat how you get a file over?
Yeah, so if we want to add a file, you can just simply click on the open image, and then you just navigate to whatever folder you have. You can also go to the file menu and say open image. Now, I was using open test image, and that takes me directly to their Find My Font test images that they have inside of their own program. But normally you just hit open image. You can also do this, which takes a screenshot of your screen. So if you have something on your screen and you want to screenshot it real quick, you can also do that here. So that's also something that's available to you.
Okay, let's see. Ryan said, any tips for more difficult script fonts?
The biggest thing is going to be with script fonts and things like that. are going to be knowing where to break the lines at with your the break line tool. That's probably going to be the biggest thing, is knowing where that kind of separation happens in the font itself.
Okay.
Again, what you can do is yeah, it's going to be separation and things like that. Those are going to be your biggest things, I think, to deal with.
Let's see here. We have none in the screen said I can't activate Find My Font or Virtual Sign on my phone.
So Find My Font is going to be a PC application only. So this will be on your desktop. So you won't be able to run it off of your phone. But Virtual Sign should use the same login that you have for your cloud account. So maybe here's a recommendation. Maybe try resetting the password, or maybe changing the password on your cloud account, just to make sure that it's reading properly, and then try it again. But making sure that you know what the password is for the cloud account, and that's saicloud.com. It's the same one that you log in for saicloud.com.
Okay.
If you're still having trouble activating it, double check your license as well. You have to have a subscription. If you have a permanent version of the software or a non-subscription version, like an OEM or anything like that, you're not going to see that available to you, or it won't activate it. You have to have a subscription.
Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple more questions. Let's see here. Ryan said, a tip, you can preview custom text right in the program by entering in the bar on the right side.
Yep, right here. So you can also do that right here, exactly. So you can grab and edit some text to display right here. So you can add anything you want.
Okay. And then Joe asked, is there a way to stretch a particular font from a corner, almost in the form of what the font would look like in italics, but not quite?
Let's see here. Well, not inside the program itself here. So this is just to identify fonts. But in Flexi, I believe that when you any font that you type, I believe that you can convert into a into an italics. We go to our font options here. You can add a slant to any text you want. So this Myriad Pro font does not necessarily have an italics version, or maybe it does. It does, but even if it doesn't, you can still create an italics look by using this setting here inside of Flexi in your Design Central.
Okay. And then we have another one said, sorry I joined in late, but would this program be able to give you the name of a font if the font isn't already in my library?
Yeah, so in the right-hand side, so if I, let's go ahead and just cancel this right here, and let's just, we'll add a couple here. So when you hit search, it will automatically search the internet, and it'll also search your local PC. So anything in green is going to be on your local PC, and then anything in red is going to be what it found online. And of course, if you double click on this, it'll take you to a web page that gives you a place where you can purchase it from, and where it's gonna, all the information about the font, like copyright and all that kind of stuff. And if, just for demonstration here, so there you go. You can type in a set of text if you wanted to display that instead of what you typed out. by default, it just goes to the text that you typed over here and puts it in here, but then you can also do your custom font text.
Okay. It looks like we have one more question from Rick. So what does it do if the font has been extended or condensed or had a slant applied?
So it should be able to, well, if it's had a slant applied to it, that's actually a good question. I've not tried anything with a slant already pre-applied to it. I would imagine what it would try and do is it would probably bring up that font or the italics version of the font. It would try and find the italics version of it, if there is one. It may have a hard time with that. I'm not sure. That's actually a really good question. I've not run it. Let's see if there's any. There's nothing in here that there's a. Let's see if this one here. Of course, that one is bold italic. So I've done this one before, and it registers it just fine as italic, but that's because this Georgia font has an italic version. So my imagination would be that if you did do it, it would probably find the italics version of what it thinks that font is, or it would try and get as close as it could. Yeah, and the main issue there is computer algorithmically, if it's not a, so just like we did here, I took this font, and I can do this with, like I said, any one of these. So this particular Oswald font, it doesn't have an italics, but I can still add it. So in that case, you have what's technically a font that doesn't exist. And so when it's looking for this, mathematically, it says, well, this doesn't really exist, and it's trying to find the closest match to that. So in some cases, it may be able to find something that's close, but then in other cases, it may not find anything at all, I would imagine. So it kind of depends on how that looks. But yeah, there's kind of a there's some potential there for it not to be able to see it.
Renee said, is there a way to purchase the program if I want a permanent version of Flexi?
Yes, actually, so again, this is actually a a program that we partner with, Find My Font. So if when you have a subscription, you get one free copy of the software per account. So that means you can transfer the license back and forth and around different computers, things like that. That's perfectly acceptable. But it's just one free license. If you want to purchase additional licenses, you can actually just go right to them directly and purchase multiple licenses from them. I can't remember the pricing on it exactly, but you can purchase a separate license from them if you want to. So if you want 3 or 4 or 5 different licenses, or if you don't have a subscription and you want to purchase it independently on your own, you can go through them directly and purchase it if you like. So it is an option that is available.
Let's see here. Oh, we got one more comment from Sherry. Says, thank you. Sorry, separate problem. My outline tool bevels sharp square corners even when I select sharp corners. It used to work, then it stopped.
Okay, so that's actually a pretty common problem. What ends up happening is, what you want to check is if you're in your outline tool, you want to make sure that your miter limit is set to 4. If it's not set to 4, then that's where the problem will come in. I want to say that you have to have, let's see here. I think we have to have our, If it's set to something else, and I'm not sure why I'm not getting the option right now to change it. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not giving me the option to change it right now, but it should be set to 4. This can actually get changed from 4 to something else, either whether it's below or above 4. That can happen. So check that setting and see if you can get it back to 4.
She said it worked. Thank you. So thanks for looking at that. And it looks like we have one more question about Find My Font. Yolanda said, can I find what font by scanning it from letterhead of business card?
Yeah, so you can use a scanner or take a picture of it. So if you have your cell phone, just take a picture of it and then send that picture to your email address on your PC, or plug your phone in and download the picture. Or if you have a scanner, you can just set that thing on the a business card on the scanner, scan it to your PC, and then import that file. I believe that the file types that it supports, if we hit open image, are BMP, GIF, JPEG, a bunch of them here, so you can kind of see those TIFF. So it supports a bunch of different formats for images. So yeah, take a picture with your cell phone or scan it in using a scanner or something like that, and then just import that file in.